Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Goody Good Comics, which came out in 2000, published by Fantagraphics Books. This is pretty much the brainchild of Gilbert Hernandez. He edits it and draws most of the comic, but he did invite some other cartoonists to contribute strips, so it's kind of a bit of an anthology too. It's a kind of an odd comic, how it almost looks like a children's comic or a comic for kids. It's not, though. It says for mature readers, and it's in the sense that the stories are just very imaginative. The plots just turn on a dime. It reminds me of like American Comics Group stories, like Herbie, or like some Mort Weisinger Superman title. Some crazy Jimmy Olsen comic. We're just like, everything is zany and you never know where the stories are going to go. And just all these imaginative plot elements pop up for no reason, you know. So that's why it kind of reminds me of a kid's comic in a weird way. This is number 1. It was the only issue, though, unfortunately. There's no other issues of Goody Good Comics. Nice cover by Gilberto, very creepy, but also it looks kind of kid-friendly in a weird way. We have a nicely designed contents page here with an illustration by Gilbert. And we start off with extend the hand of love to all who can use it. This takes up the bulk of the issue. This is Gilbert Hernandez doing everything. I like this like cryptic, weird panel, first panel. So we see this guy come out of the water. It's almost like he's new to this world. He says, I live, but for how long? And why? And this guy's name is Roy. Roy, we find out. He's the protagonist of the story. He sees this sleeping alien, and he knows who he is. He's like, it's my friend Homo. Homo, are you okay? And Homo seems to be fine. In the distance, he can see the cadets from the Leapin' Elite Corps. And they're just these young women who have trained themselves to be able to leap incredible distances, just like the Incredible Hulk, kind of, how he gets around. So Roy's hungry and goes looking for some breakfast, chasing these critters around. And then he sees this teenage boy riding this weird slug thing. And the slug thing gets startled by the little creatures that Roy was chasing around and throws the teenager from his back. He's a little hurt, and Roy goes to his aid. And it turns out that this kid is the king of the whole kingdom. He likes to ride around and check out the villages, check out his subjects and see how they're doing. And seems like a really nice king. And Roy's really impressed with how much he loves his subjects. So the king passes out from all the stress. And Roy goes off to look for Homo. Homo ran off or something. But then he hears a noise from where he left the king. And the king is awake and he's in pain. He's got this giant mutated boil on his knee, like a tumor. It's all veiny and everything. And he hands his sword to Roy and says, please help me out here. So Roy stabs it, kind of lances it like a boil. And this doppelganger of the king pops out of the tumor. It looks like he's all covered in blood. He grabs the sword from Roy and cleaves the king's skull in two and kills him. So this is where we see it's not really a kid's comic. And he basically tells him, well, I'm the new king now. This is great. But I'm going to make some changes. And as they're heading towards the city so he can ascend to his throne, Roy goes with him. And from his dialogue, we realize this new king is not good. He's a vainglorious jerk. You know, he's evil. We just saw him murder that king. First thing he did. So Rory's just like going along. Rory's kind of a passive character. So they make it to the city. Rory is attended to by these two ladies of the court, or maidens, whatever. They're wearing veils. They give him a haircut. I love this haircut. It looks so funny. And Roy recognizes them. He says, you know, you guys look like my two friends, Shout and Dinky, from the Catholic Order of the Leaping Elite. And they're denying it. They're like, oh, you must be thinking of someone else. And he fills them in about how the new king is an imposter. And he's an evil imposter. This is kind of weird. All of a sudden they say, okay, walk towards the light, okay? Go down into this dark corridor and walk towards the light. I don't quite understand. I thought I was like missing, I skipped a page or something. So Roy is walking down this place and he sees this little window at like floor level. He peers through it and he sees himself as a cute little boy on his favorite Christmas ever. His parents are still together. He got all these good toys. And it makes him really happy. He says, I must see more. He sees another little window. He sees himself meeting Jack Kirby when he was a little boy. And I guess that was a treasured moment. And then he looks through another window and he sees his childhood sweetheart, Judith, his one and true love. I love how he draws her. Just this weird looking little girl. But I guess he loved her. So all of a sudden, Roy gets really sad. He says, I'm not there with her. Why did I leave it all behind? Everything's so dear to me. I was a coward. That's why I couldn't live in my own skin. I'm going to return home and never again flee from my fears and responsibilities. So maybe this is that beginning. This is like my dumb interpretation. Like Roy was just a guy like you or me who lives in our world. And he just felt wrong there. And so he escaped to this weird imaginative world. Maybe at least in his mind. And so he lives in this crazy place, but he's really not from here. So I don't know. I have no idea what happened. But when he sees the light finally, like a real light, and he heads towards it, and he comes out. And when he opens his eyes, he's in an arena. And the king is up in the balcony with the two women that he recognized. And the king says, let the fruit enter. This really goofy looking character comes in, but he doesn't act goofy. He's savage. Starts beating the shit out of Rory. Really harshly. And when he's got him subdued, the king's all like, brain suck. Give him the brain suck. And that's what the fruit does. Look at that. Definitely not kid friendly. He basically looks, yeah, he's sucking his brains. Looks like through his eye socket. Pretty nuts. So this old, like, woman comes out and starts pouring liquid on his face. Very odd. We cut back to the king and the two maidens of the court. One of them, Shout, because these are Rory's friends. Let me just see the other one's name. I always forget. Shout is the blonde, and Dinky. So Shout runs to the arena, stops the old woman from doing whatever the hell she was doing, and they get in a tussle, and using her amazing thigh muscles, she catapults the old lady. It looks like into the stratosphere, like just way far outside the arena. Dinky shows up, and it looks like that old woman was pouring like acid on Rory that like burned off his arm and his head. And then Roy, he's still animate somehow. And he starts getting one of those knee tumors. We also realize from their dialogue that Shout has a crush on Roy. And kind of always has. Roy's been oblivious. So Shout pierces the boil thing. And this other Roy comes leaping out. He's all bald. Like a newborn baby. A very big fat baby. But he's a mature baby. A mature human. And the king sees all this and says, "Seize them." So these guards come and they evade them. And then we cut back to the arena, which is now all peaceful. Everyone's left. And the Roy that was dissolved, half dissolved, his head grows back and his arm grows back. So there's another Roy. And he seems like he has no memory. He's just like, "My knee hurts. Homo?" So then that other first Roy that came out of the knee, the second Roy that came out of the knee, he confronts the king. And I love this threat. The king says, "You'll never read another comic book." And he runs him through with a sword. But before he can die, the second Roy grabs the king, and they both go over the balcony here in the castle, and they fall to their death. So meanwhile, the cadets of the Leapin' Elite are trying to escape, trying to evade the guards, and the Throat shows up, and Shout takes him out. He's so cute, the Throat. I don't know if Gilbert meant this, but there was a DC character. I think he was a little alien. They used to hang out with like Space Ranger, one of those sci-fi characters. And I think from the neck up, he's that guy. But he was a little cute alien. He didn't have a giant hulking body like this guy. But whatever, if he was influenced by that or not, it's pretty funny looking. So they all take off from the city, and they see that Roy's okay, the other Roy. But I guess they can't take Roy with them. There's some rules. They say, "Hey, we can't take him with him. You know the rules." And then Roy sees Homo riding one of those slug creatures. Dinky tells Shout that Roy will return to his friends and relatives just as we will return to our base. And Roy and Homo go riding off happily. So just a very odd story. It looks like Gilbert Hernandez just like sat down and said, "I'm going to make some crazy story panel by panel. Wherever my imagination takes it, I'm just going to go with it." It's very strange, but I love stuff like that. Especially Gilbert Hernandez. I mean, he's a master. He knows what he's doing. I don't know if we ever saw these characters again. Okay, now we have a Doofus comic by Rick Altergott. I don't know if you guys ever read Doofus. It's funny as hell, but so stupid. It's like this really dumb comic. Impeccably drawn, as you can see. Rick Altergott loves Wally Wood. He kind of has that inking style that adds a nice polish to the pencils. But Doofus his comics are really goofy. He's kind of this cretin, Doofus. He's kind of this kind of disgusting little man. And it's a beautiful day. And Doofus is all like, "Oh, I'm going to have a great day in my backyard. But I need some provisions first." So he calls up his best friend, Henry Hotchkiss, for help. And Henry brings his little cart. They go get some cold beer, some porno mags, and 50-cent cigars. And they fill up the kiddie pool. And they put the beers in to stay cold. And then Doofus strips down and jumps in. And he's just so pleased with himself. He's just like, "This is paradise." But then he takes a sip of his beer and he says, "Oh no, I misread the label." I fucked up. I bought cold beer piss. There's actually this product. Ace's beer piss. 12 ounces. Sorry, guys. That's the joke. But I don't know why when Doofus makes jokes like these, I think they're funny. It's so stupid. We have a little side strip of Henry Hotchkiss. And this prostitute is offering her wares to Henry, telling him her rates. And Henry says, but I don't have any money. Isn't there something you can give me for free? And the prostitute thinks for a second. And then she says, oh yeah, smiles are free. And they're both smiling in the last panel. Here's a Greaseball by Johnny Ryan. And this is a very kid-friendly comic, but it's gross. And Greaseball is just this guy who runs around. He's like a magical imp. And the kids are like, hey, if we catch him, he'll grant us 3 greasy wishes. So they're all running after Greaseball. He's really hard to catch, as you can imagine. He slips through your fingers when you grab him. Splurch, slick. But then one of them has a butterfly net and captures him. So he says, all right, just tell me what you want. Tell me your wishes. The first kid wishes for 1,000,000 greasy French fries. And he gets them. Man, it looks like Johnny Ryan drew every little French fry. The girl asks for really, really greasy hair. And she's like, gets it. And she's like, look at my hair. It's all greasy and gross. I love it. And the other boy asks for greasy wheelie banana shoes, which I don't even know what the fuck those are. Just so odd. And then he says, he takes off, says, sorry, kids, I gotta go. Keep it real greasy, that is. Haw, haw, haw. Just some more of Johnny Ryan's retarded brilliance. If you guys haven't read Johnny Ryan's Angry Youth comics, I mean, they're just so stupid and so funny. This guy still makes me laugh. He's a fearless cartoonist. In this day and age where a lot of people are like, you can't write that, you can't draw that, he doesn't give a shit. He just makes the foulest cartoons, and they're funny as hell. Oh, we get another Doofus strip. And Doofus comes home to his house. His mother is calling from upstairs and saying, who are you talking to? And he's like, oh, it's just Henry Hotchkiss, Mother. And she yells down, what? I thought I told you I didn't want that trash in my house. And he's like, Doofus says, well, would it be okay if I confined him to the backyard and the front porch? And she's like, well, I guess that would be all right. And later on, Doofus comes out, hands Henry a beer, says, hey, you know, Henry, I think my mom's really warming up to you. That's because she let him stay outside on the front porch. He's such a good cartoonist, Rick Altergott. Look at this. It's beautiful penciling and inking. And then we have, on the back cover, we have a comic strip from Jaime Hernandez, Mike Hayes, the greatest comic book character I ever created. And we see this, it's like a very small character study of this guy, Mike Hayes. He's like the big man on campus. Mike Hayes may knock you down real hard, but he always offers his hand to help you up. Mike Hayes will always steal your girlfriend. But mostly, Mike Hayes will win the game. And everyone's cheering hooray for Mike Hayes. So there you have it, Goody Good Comics, an all-around really great, fun comic. I don't think these are too hard to find at all. Obviously, it never made it to number 2. I guess it didn't sell very well. But I recommend it highly. Good stuff. And not the best stuff from all these creators. But, I mean, these creators are all pretty much at the top of their game. So their scraps are better than most people's main courses. So there you have it. And I hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.